Another powerful integration feature of QuickBooks is working with Microsoft Excel. As you know, we can easily export everything to our Excel spreadsheet. In this movie, I'd like to talk about the advanced feature of using pivot tables. For this example, I'm going to use a transaction detail report. It simply gives me all the transactions that affected my accounts. I'm going to hit my export button and immediately go to Excel. Now do remember under the Advanced tab that you'll need to check to make sure that there's no space between the columns. When I'm finished, I'll simply say Export, and Excel will now be processed. Before we put our pivot table together, there's just a little bit of prep work. You will find that any of the blank spaces will create problems. Now it's okay to have the occasional blank space in your data, but when you have a blank at the top or on the sides, your pivot table will not run correctly. So I'm going to right-click and simply delete those fields. I didn't worry about the date because I have it right here. I'll also do a right-click on the number 2, and when I do, I'll delete that row. That's it. That's all the preparation that we need. I'm now going up to the word Data and going down to Pivot Table. When I select the pivot table, it brings me to a wizard. The first part of the wizard asks me where the data is coming from. In this instance, it's right here in Excel, so I can select the default. Let's go next, and you'll notice that it's confirming the selection of the data. I can now finish. When I finish, we are given the pivot table chart. You'll notice that it's saying any items you want going down in a row should be placed here. Any of your column headings will then be placed on top, and right on the very top of the screen you'll see page fields. Think of a page field as a report filter. Let's do an example. I'm going to ask to have my dates on the row. You'll notice all the dates went down in a nice orderly fashion. I would like to get the balance as my data, which is going to be summarized in totals. Now let's say that we want to look at these totals by class. So in the filter area, I'm going to bring over the class. At this point, I see all the totals for all my classes. However, if I want to see just the remodel, I can select the remodel and it automatically switches to that. If I'd like to go back to all, I'll simply select all and say OK. Over to the side in the field list, you will notice that certain items are in bold. The items in bold are currently on our pivot table. If I'd like to add another one, I'll grab my field and drag it over to the area that I want it to go in. Now notice the I-beam between date and total. That's where I will drop this field. When I release my mouse, I now have all of my accounts by date. If I want to reverse the order, I'll select my account and simply move it over next to the date. Perhaps I'd like my account to be a filter. I'll move it up to the top. If I'd like my class now down as the row, I'll move my class next to the row. The idea of the pivot table is we can drag and drop our information to come up with a number of different reports. One of the nicest features of this pivot table is the ability to do an auto format. If I go up to the word Format and down to Auto Format, you will see a variety of prepared formats for us. I recommend that you use the auto format and don't even worry about trying to format yourself. Matter of fact, be careful. When you refresh data, it will remove your formats. It's even a better reason to use the auto format. I'll select Report 4 and say OK. You'll notice that it immediately went in and formatted my report for me. All I really need to do is select my column, put on my comma, and I have a nice clean looking report. You'll notice that it's very easy to see in each of the categories. And if I move the data around, you'll see that the report will adjust itself automatically. The power of these pivot tables is absolutely amazing. It's really well worth the effort to see how well they work in conjunction with QuickBooks. It only takes a few moments to create the pivot table once you get the feel for it. And by the way, Once this pivot table is created, you'll notice on the top on my pivot table toolbar that there's a chart wizard. It will automatically create a chart for you with the sum of whatever items you have. The nice part, as you change your pivot table, the chart will adjust automatically.